called Phelan, a very difficult piece for solo string bass. And in it, I am required to read a long text while playing music written above the text. The text must be read out loud at a more or less normal pace, and I must not allow the music to slow me down. The task is fairly easy for a while, because there's not much music, and most of it comes at the ends of clauses and sentences, almost like normal punctuation. Later on, there's more music, and the task becomes more difficult. So difficult, in fact, that I will probably not be able to do it without either slowing down my reading speed or else making mistakes in the music. At least the composer feels confident that I will eventually begin to run into trouble, which is why he called the piece Failing. So far, the task is still not that difficult. But the challenge is that, as the piece becomes more difficult, I must continue reading the text at a normal pace and playing the music as well as possible, just as I did at the beginning. By now, I'm already rather busy just playing the notes and reading the text. But the text says that I should also try to listen to what I'm doing as much as possible and speak loud enough to keep a balance between the speaking and the playing. Ideally, both the speaking and the music should flow easily and naturally, so that the audience can easily follow either element at any time. Sometimes the music has a strong aggressive quality, and I have to speak quite loudly to be heard. At other times, the music is lyrical, almost sentimental, and I must speak more softly, so that the speaking will not corrupt the music. But I should make sure that the text is always easy to understand. If my voice fluctuates too much with the rises and falls of the music, the text may become difficult to understand, and that too would be a form of failing, because the text makes it clear that the speaking should always be easy for the audience to understand, regardless of what happens musically. By now, this task is already rather challenging, but I have practiced this piece quite a bit, and that is a fact, as well as simply a line of text. So unless I'm having a particularly bad night, I can still handle the music quite adequately without slowing down my delivery of the text. I should be able to keep everything well in tune and play the dynamic markings accurately. If I'm concentrating well, I should even be able to maintain a good balance between the speaking and the playing. And turns out to be a failure. Or, putting it another way, I will probably succeed in failing to succeed, not only because the music is so difficult, but also because if I fail to succeed in failing to succeed, I will fail and fail and miss the point. Since failing is obviously about failing, and since any successful performance must be a qualified failure. In any case, I am continuing to read the text and play the music as well as possible, attempting to maintain a normal pace and make the text comprehensible. And I am probably continuing to fail. But I should not be failing quite as often now as I was before, because the music is returning to some of the more lyrical material. Even that material is difficult to play as expressively as I would like under these circumstances. But at least there is not much danger that I will miss notes. And if I concentrate, I can also maintain a good balance between the speaking and the playing. Soon, however, I will be faced with a fresh difficulty. The text is about to run out, but the music continues for another minute or so. During that time, I must decide for myself what to talk about as I play. My remarks are to be genuinely improvised and should include specific references to this particular performance and to the degree to which I've been failing, or failing to fail, or failing to succeed to fail, whatever. As before, I must continue to speak at a normal pace and in a normal tone of voice, and maintain a good balance between the speaking and the playing. As an additional challenge, I'm supposed to link the written part of the text with the improvised part so smoothly that no one will be able to tell exactly where the improvised speaking began. But the challenge is that I must succeed in failing to succeed to read a written text that is unwritten, since the piece is called failing and not successful, because that would just sound weird. I am thankful, however, that this composer did not write anything too difficult to say. Things like, unique New York, you know unique New York. Or something more potentially hazardous, like, I slit the sheet I slit, and on the slitted sheet I sit. In any case, I only have about 2 more notes to play, so I suppose it's ultimately up to the audience to decide